Representative Joy, welcome back to the committee. Do you want to move your bill? And I believe, did you have an actual amendment or you were discussed a small oral amendment?
Yeah, since this is being laid over.
We are laying this bill over, yes. So
So to the bill, I motion that we move this bill.
we'll move House File 1242. Representative Joy moves House File 1242 to be laid over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
Yep. Go ahead and then, tell us what your bill does, and I think you'll have a couple testifiers. Thank you.
Sure. House File 1242 is before you today because trucking industry continues to face challenges finding and retaining high-quality commercial drivers. One of the specific impediments protective CDL holders facing is taking their driver's test in a predictable and timely manner. I've heard from constituents about this. Once this issue came to my attention, I then met with the Minnesota Truck Association and heard their concerns. Those conversations led to the common sense bill you see before you today. I have seen the letter from DVS, and while I understand their concerns, my objective is to ensure our state agencies are serving Minnesotans. I look forward to working with them to expand third-party testing. And then I have a couple testifiers today.
Thank you, Representative Joy. Do you want to just discuss what the oral amendment was or clarification? Since we're just laying it over, we can just kind of clarify.
Yes, on
We don't need a formal amendment.
line 7.4 on the bill. Sit down. Is changing that to say Commissioner of Transportation to Commissioner of Public Safety. Type in
Correct. Mr. Burris, we just need to take note of it. There's no official action that we need to take. Is that correct? And that is just, the intent of that is just to have it be, reside within the correct department and the correct commissioner.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Joy. We have a testifier, Mr. John Hasladen. No stranger to the Transportation Committee. Welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record, of course. Let us know who you're with, and love to hear your testimony.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Good to see you here today. At the outset, I would ask if the page could pass around a handout that has some draft recommendations from a joint MnDOT study. We'll put that right there. I'll be referring to that. It's a pleasure to be with you today on this sunny day. I am happy to testify in support of House File 1242. There's a statement we like to use in our industry, and that is, there's nothing without trucking. Every item of food, clothing, medicine, building materials, life-saving equipment, and raw ingredients travel by truck. And of course, every one of those trucks has a professional truck driver behind the wheel. Having an adequate number of trained and qualified drivers is the number one long-term issue facing the trucking industry. According to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, Minnesota currently faces a shortage of 3,925 truck drivers, and this mirrors a national shortage of just under 80,000 drivers. This shortage is made worse by a burdensome new federal entry-level driver training requirement and continued inefficiencies in the current state-controlled system of testing commercial driver applicants. House File 1242 helps address this shortage in two important ways. It expands the ability of existing third-party examiners to conduct more road tests, and it creates a new grant program to fund truck driver training and living expenses. First, House File 1242 expands testing capacity. The current state infrastructure for conducting written and road tests is simply not able to keep up with demand. We have reports of students completing CDL training programs, so they've gone through the whole training, and then having to wait several weeks or over a month to secure a testing slot. This is caused by a limited number of Department of Public Safety CDL road testing facilities around the state and the challenges that they have fully staffing the existing examiner positions. And here's the rub for a lot of trucking companies. When a testing facility is not available locally, instructors must think about this. When a Class D 16-year-old goes to get their license, they need a car. When you are a CDL tester, you can't drive it. You need to have a CDL holder to drive a truck, a trailer, and to chauffeur you to the location. So now imagine if that testing slot is more than 100 miles away. So even if a slot is open on a given day, that's a major hurdle. This then requires the instructor to chauffeur the student, like we said, and what it effectively does is it reduces instruction time that the instructor could be using and it increased program costs. House File 1242 expands the ability of third-party testers to conduct road tests. And I want to stress, this is existing third-party testers. It does not expand who can do it. It allows them compensation for doing so, and it allows commercial driver training programs to schedule and reserve recurring testing times for commercial driver applicants, which is currently prohibited by law. Scheduling road testing slots will allow these programs to efficiently place students into testing slots just as they complete their training. And again, there's this gap we're talking about. If someone takes time, gets training, can't get the test, now what do we do? And we lose candidates in that process. Authorizing such scheduling will prioritize CDL exams within the existing system. And I think that's one of the things we'd like to stress, that when you're getting a CDL, that is your license to work. It is a part of the supply chain and the essential work in the economy. And if they have to wait for essentially Class D testers to slots to open up, that is a real challenge. Another thing, Senate House File 1242 creates a new grant program to foster the training of commercial truck drivers. This new funding source can be used to pay for tuition, living expenses, and reimburse fleets who conduct their own entry-level driver training program, which is allowed under the federal regulation. And training programs range from 4 weeks to 4 months. While grants for tuition, room and board for 4-year degrees are commonplace, think about this, a lot of people in here who maybe got a 4-year degree took out a loan, and that hamburger you bought first semester of your freshman year got financed for the whole time of that loan. But these programs for truck driver training are typically shorter, they're often not for credit, and so while you may be able to get tuition reimbursement or a scholarship for that, finding something to live on is incredibly challenging. So the innovative element of this bill is that it will make it far more likely that someone can transition mid-career knowing that they can support their family as they undergo training. And this living support is critical since the average age of a person seeking a commercial driver's license is 35, meaning they're likely to have a family, have a mortgage, and other expenses. So again, think of the dynamic when you're a CDL tester. Delayed road tests create significant financial hardships as the students wait to secure the CDL and then begin earning his income as a professional driver. And one of the things that makes truck driver programs different from others is that they have a very consistent, continual flow of students. Minnesota trucking companies, another piece of this, are eligible to provide this entry-level driver training, but face very real costs in delivering the training. A second innovative provision of this bill allows fleets to be reimbursed for direct costs up to providing training and creating a public-private partnership. It is including but not limited to the instructor salary, books, course materials, and really the most expensive thing is the vehicle maintenance, its operating costs, and its fuel and insurance. So the legislature recognized the significance of this issue. And just last year, you directed the Minnesota Department of Public Safety and the Minnesota Department of Transportation to conduct a Minnesota commercial driver workforce study and jointly report their findings back to the legislature. I don't believe you have it in front of you yet, but the report will be coming to you shortly, and what you have passed around to you are the draft recommendations. Two of the draft recommendations from the study, and this group was from stakeholders, public, private, instructors, schools, students, fleets. This is what the people who have to use the system are recommending. They have two recommendations that support this. First, to continue to explore the expansion of third-party CDL testing, which is what we're doing in the first half. And secondly, to find ways to improve access to the affordability and feasibility of CDL training. And the second component does that. So we believe House File 1242 will make meaningful headway in reducing barriers that prevent successful recruitment and retention of professional truck drivers and so we urge its passage, and we thank Representative Joy for bringing it forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the testimony and explanation, kind of walkthrough of the bill. We have Representative Anderson and Olson. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming in. I just wanted to thank you for doing this. I have a large family, many siblings. Two of them are commercial truck drivers, two of my brothers. One of them drives cars around, from dealerships, and the other one actually works up in Prudhoe Bay in Alaska in that industry. And these are good jobs that are in many cases are mid-career, like you talked about in the case of both of my brothers, one of whom has a 4-year degree that probably got some grants, but nothing to get into this industry. So this is very, very needed. We have a huge need for more drivers across the state of Minnesota. And whatever we can do to get folks into those careers, as easily as we can, I think is a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Anderson. And there is a letter from DVS, Driver and Vehicle Services Director. Shang, did you want to testify, or I think you were just sufficient with the letter? Okay, just want to double check. Is there any other public testimony I should have asked earlier? Oh, there is one, okay. I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead. I didn't see you on the list, but I would let you provide testimony anyways. Welcome back, Mr. Benner. Please introduce yourself and who you're with for the record, and then proceed with your testimony and keep it under 2 minutes.
I'll do my best, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Pat Benner. I'm a legislative representative with AFSCME Council 5. Thank you, Representative Joy and committee members, for hearing my testimony today. AFSCME Council 5 respectfully opposes House File 1242. We feel strongly that the privatization of government services will lead to more expensive outcomes for Minnesotans while sacrificing the integrity of the impartial process currently in place and increase the risk of bad actors committing fraudulent activity. We feel that the legislature has already done a lot to improve the state's capacity to get timely local road exams for both CDL and Class D licenses over the last few years, and there's no reason to abandon that progress right now. It is vital that our examiners remain impartial and don't have any conflict of interest when administering a road exam. Our roads, at least pre-COVID, were among the safest in the nation. Much of that is due to the enforcement of traffic laws in our state by law enforcement and a positive reputation for not so aggressive driving. But it's also because we have an impartial agency that administers license exams and doesn't award licenses to those that can't demonstrate an adequate level of proficiency. I want to reiterate some of the work that the legislature has done over the last few years because you should be commended for it. First and foremost, our biggest issue was not having the people to do the work. You changed that last session by appropriating new money to DVS with the blackout plate and increasing fees. And with that, DVS has been able to hire more testers, and real progress has been made because of those decisions. We've made tremendous progress to the point of there are now thousands of available road exams over the next month for Class D and over 100 exams available for commercial driver's licenses across the state over the next month. There are some other issues, things that have driven the backlog of license exams that I think we could, at the legislature, explore further because we need a more holistic discussion. For one, driver's education costs have skyrocketed in recent years. Driving schools, both public and private, have increased the prices by at least $50 over the last 3 years. I know because I checked in preparation of the last time I testified on this. In some cases, it's increased by over $100. We need to provide relief to students and their families so they can fully participate in behind-the-wheel instruction and be ready to pass their test within the first couple of tries. Sorry, 1 second. We need more metro capacity. We all know that, so let's work towards getting there. And we can finish it there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benner. Appreciate that. And then again, members, there's the letter from DVS. So we are just laying this bill over. We have Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Housley, nice to see you again. Quick question for you on the first portion of the bill. Your issue seems to be availability of testers in a local, reasonably close to the person that wants to take the test. Is that correct? Versus like it's a better way to do it in a private company versus doing it through the approach we do today. I mean, it seems like your issue is availability for a place that's reasonably close.
Mr.
Chair?
Haslod.
Yeah, Representative Kraft, that would be, yes, it's throughput and capacity more than it is saying one is better than the other.
Follow up?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And so I appreciate that. And as we talk about this, I think that's key. I question whether diverting resources to two different areas is better than having more resources focused at one area. Generally, from an efficiency perspective, you'd be better off having more resources in one group than having a private group and a public group doing the same thing if you're talking about efficiency. So, thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Representative Olson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is one of those regular instances where Representative Kraft and I disagree. I think that very rarely has the government ever been able to do something at a cheaper rate than the private sector. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to ensure that we have our trucks out on the road. You know, commercial truck drivers, they're the lifeblood of our economy. If we don't have truckers on the road getting things from point 1 to point 2 or A to B or whichever way you're going, we're in significant trouble. And I think this addresses that issue very well. I think it's interesting that, the first recommendation from the department is always additional funding for more testers. I think that's they probably didn't even have to consider that one when they came up with it. And I do believe DVS when they say that they think it'll cost a little bit more resources in order to kind of cover down and audit any of the third-party testers. But I think that as a general rule, you have to hire X amount of testers or you hire one person to audit all the testers. I think that's going to come out in our favor in the end. But more than anything, so I've got a commercial driver's license. The United States Army trained me how to drive big trucks, and so I got one as a result of that. And I'm racking my brain trying to figure out how I would become a truck driver today, not owning one, not being able to show up for a road test with a truck that's going to pass the inspection because I don't own one. Unless I go to a trucking company who says, hey, we'll hire you on the spot, we'll give you the training, and we'll pay you $90,000 a year to drive for us. I'm racking my brain on how this could work. So I think this is a wonderful bill. I think we need to explore this private-public partnership. We need to dig deep into this and get something like this to go. So I appreciate you bringing it forward, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Mr. Benner. I don't know that there's going to be any other questions for you. To wrap it up, Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to throw the replay flag out here and go back to what Representative Olson said on the last bill, that the state workers are there and they should do the work and they can do the work. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out which one it is. And I'm pretty sure that the AFSCME folks represent both of those workers that were in your office last week and the ones that would be affected by this. And so I think for me, I think it's an inefficient waste of money or inefficient use of money when we're giving private entities, skimming off the top of the taxpayers to give to private entities. And so I do agree with you, Representative Olson. I do think the state workers are good at their jobs and that they should be the ones doing this work and that they want to do it and that we should let them do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cagle. I'll stay out of the I'll stay out of the 50-yard line here. Representative Joy, any closing comments?
Just, as people drive around, pay attention to the trains going around, because when you see trailers on trains, that means we're lacking drivers. And just because the rail runs up and down, east to west, there's still small rural Minnesota communities that get their delivery trucks. And some of us have had to sacrifice not getting twice-a-week deliveries. We've had to go to single deliveries because they don't have drivers. I just feel something like this will expand it and move it faster, and I think this is important legislation to move through. Thank you.
I appreciate the bill. We are laying it over, and I think it's an important topic. Things don't just show up on the stores without some mode of transportation. to get there. So thank you for the bill. We'll take it under consideration, lay it over for possible inclusion. So House File 1242 is laid over.